Brands care about two things in media. One they love, the other they hate. Growth moves brands forward. Waste holds them back. Love growth. Hate waste. At Tinuiti, our technology reveals the truth, enabling our people to create growth for brands that defines the category, and to hunt down waste, the biggest growth killer of all. Do this and marketing can be what we all want it to be. Love growth. Hate waste. Tinuiti. Love growth, hate waste.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thrilled to have our partner, Stratably, joining us for the session. We're going to introduce our speakers soon. But today we're going to explore the AMC stallout. Specifically, we are going to dive into why relying solely on basic reports is leaving significant growth opportunities on the table. And more importantly, we are going to show you exactly what this means for your business and the tangible benefits you can unlock by moving beyond the basics and how Tinuiti's advanced capabilities in Amazon Marketing Cloud space can help you capture that hidden value. So a few logistics first. My name is Catherine, Marketing Program Manager at Tinuiti. I'm going to be your host today. First, session recordings and slides, they are going to be sent directly to your inbox shortly after the session. If you happen to log off at any time during this, you can jump back in using the same link that is in your inbox and in your calendar hold. We also have a few resources available in the Handouts tab on the right-hand side of your screen. We've got our Q3 2025 Digital Ads Benchmark Report in there. You will find the slides from the session today and our holiday shopping trends as well. So make sure you download those while we're in session. And please use the chat to ask questions. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We'd love to hear from our audience. We're going to hold some time at the end for some live Q&A, but feel free to just send questions over as they come up for you. And we're also going to have some poll questions throughout today. You can access that in the right-hand side of your screen by toggling over from chat to polls. So make sure you participate in those with us. And a little bit about Tinuiti before we get started. We are the largest independent full funnel marketing agency in the US across the media that matters most. We are built for digital forward brands that want to scale with precision. We operate across commerce, search, social, streaming, TV, and creative, backed by proprietary research and measurement first mindset that cuts waste and drives meaningful growth. And before I hand it over to our speakers, I would love to hear from our audience. So we do have a poll up in the right-hand side of your screen, and we'd love to know what has been the biggest impact you've seen from using AMC. There's a few options here. So improved ROI measurement, better audience insights, stronger campaign optimization, smarter budget allocation, or none of the above. Or if you have some others, feel free to drop them in the chat. Looks like right now, most people are saying better audience insights. We've got some stronger campaign optimization as well. We've got some more answers rolling in for improved ROI measurement, but looks like better audience insights are definitely taking the lead here. So thank you for participating in that. And without further ado, I know everybody is probably tired of hearing me talk by now. So I'm going to hand it over to our speakers today so they can introduce themselves. Bob, I'll kick it over to you first.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. Bob Avellino. I sit on our innovation and growth team, handling Amazon, the Amazon partnership. And then over to Jordan.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jordan Lampe. I'm on the commerce media team, and I'm a strategist focusing on DSP.
Hi, everyone. I'm Russ Dieringer, founder of Stratably, and we are an independent intelligence firm focused on helping consumer brands win across Amazon, Walmart, and the broader omnichannel retail ecosystem. And we do that through original research, benchmarking, and forecasting, all aimed at helping brands understand not just what's happening, but importantly, what can you do about it? How can you win? And our clients use our insights to shape strategy, guide investment decisions, and identify competitive edge opportunities, the opportunity to do something different than their competitors and win as a result of that. So with that being said, we're going to jump into the presentation here. Whenever we talk about Amazon Marketing Cloud, I like to sort of set the stage around Amazon's scale and its capabilities, because sometimes I think the industry loses sight of it. Amazon's now the largest retailer in the US, surpassing Walmart, not just in e-commerce, but in total merchandise volume, stores and e-commerce, when we consider third-party sales that are happening on Amazon's marketplace. And despite that enormous scale, that huge denominator upon which the year-over-year growth percentages are calculated, it's growing roughly 4 percentage points faster than the overall retail market. Again, remarkable given how large of a business it has. And that pace of growth reinforces something that we see consistently in our benchmarking work, which is that Amazon has become an absolute strategic necessity in order for brands to hit their growth goals. A benchmark we did ask brands where they rank Amazon from a strategic importance factor amongst their other accounts, and 44% say they now consider Amazon to be a top 3 account. And that's a really remarkable rise from, certainly 10 years ago or 5 years ago, even 3 years ago, when a lot of brands sort of treated it as a side project. It's very much moved front and center. And what's driving that shift is not only its scale, but also its influence in the retail market. It really shapes consumer expectations. It shapes how retailers compete in their strategies, and even how brands define digital success. For most manufacturers nowadays, performance on Amazon really serves as a barometer for their entire omni-channel capability. So when we talk about measurement sophistication or advertising efficiency, we're really talking about how well brands can compete in what is the most dynamic and demanding retail market in the world on Amazon. And that same dominance in retail sales also extends into retail media. Amazon's ad business is operating on an entirely different level. It's 12.7 times larger than the second biggest retail media network in the US. And perhaps more importantly, it's growing very, very fast. It reported its third quarter earnings last week, and its ads division grew 22% year over year. It's on pace to reach $69 billion in ad sales in 2025. And what's striking is that while most retail media networks are really in some sense struggling, Amazon has proven its media model. It's performing well for advertisers. It's not experimenting as much as it is scaling at this point. And it's also not leaning on brands through negotiations to give it more ad money. Brands want to give it more money because of the scale and the capabilities it affords. So for consumer brands, it really means a couple of things. The first is that Amazon sort of sets the benchmark for the industry, the ad formats, the measurement standards, and the reporting depth that all of its peers are essentially trying to emulate. And then secondly, it's where most of the sophisticated learnings are happening first. The innovations we see on Amazon, whether that's, we'll talk about audience creation through AMC, or how brands are leveraging full funnel campaigns with DSP, are often the playbook that later shows up on brand strategies on Walmart or Target or Instacart. So if you're able to execute well on Amazon, those capabilities usually can translate across the rest of the omnichannel ecosystem. And that's why we call Amazon sort of this like must-win account, both for revenue and for capability building. And when we look at it from a budget perspective, we're seeing the average brand today spending between 9 and 11% of its Amazon sales on advertising. It can vary a little bit by category. That percentage rate keeps climbing, growing about 50 to 100 basis points each year, which is between the pink and the yellow bars there is what that's showing. And that rate of growth, that 50 to 100 basis point increase, that's a faster clip than its retail media peers. And importantly, a growing portion of that spend is shifting into DSP, which requires, in our from our perspective, more sophisticated audience building and measurement than traditional sponsored ads. Despite all of these positives, or I guess maybe simultaneously amongst all these positives, brands are under pressure. Profitability is a recurring theme in every discussion we have with our clients. Chinese manufacturers and a lot of clients continue to intensify competition despite the implementation of tariffs and the removal of de minimis. CPC inflation sort of depends on your category. On average, it's relatively modest, but nonetheless, brands are being continually pushed by their finance teams to improve media efficiency, and trade terms and the cost to serve on Amazon keeps rising. Whether that's through challenging AVNs, or even if you're a 3P seller, the fees and the commissions that you're paying to Amazon are on a sort of continual upward trajectory. And so that means brands can't just spend their way to growth. They really have to spend smarter, and they need to generate a good return on that money. And so brands are looking for margin levers to pull. How do we improve the profitability of the business? How do we make it more sustainable? When we benchmark brands, hey, which levers are you focusing on to improve margins? The number one action we see isn't cutting advertising. That's all the way at the bottom there. 10% of brands are trying that. They're probably not going to be growing all that much. But the number one lever was trying to improve ad performance, ad efficiency. So it's all about improving those the return of those dollars going into Amazon ads. And that tells us that brands, they recognize how critical retail media is for their growth and the sustainability of their Amazon business. But they also know that they can't just keep spending more. They've got to get more out of those dollars. What's sort of dissonant in all of this is where Amazon Marketing Cloud comes in. So despite all of this growth opportunity on Amazon, it's becoming more and more important of an account, despite all the money flowing into Amazon ads, despite this heightened level of focus on media efficiency. Still today, in that top chart there, only about 10% of brands in our benchmarking are using Amazon Marketing Cloud to its fullest capability. They're only 10% are using it in an advanced way. And that time series chart on the bottom, it shows that number has barely moved over the past year. In 2024 was 9%. This year it's 10%. It's essentially the same number when we consider the margin of error. The reasons why it's so low are fairly practical. Limited awareness of the tool, steep learning curves, and even the strength of the tool often comes in its flexibility. It's so open-ended, but that flexibility sort of makes it hard to know where to start. But for those that do figure it out, it becomes really a competitive advantage, as Bob and Jordan are going to show. So before I turn it over to them, we can just summarize this opening part of the presentation. So Amazon's this top account. It's a must-win battle. Ad budgets into Amazon are rising. As more dollars flow into that, increasing amount of it is going into DSP, requiring more sophisticated measurement, sophisticated audience building in order to generate efficiency, which is that third element that's important, trying to improve the sustainability of this media spend, trying to improve the sustainability of your Amazon business. And yet, only 1 in 10 brands are using AMC to enable that next level of efficiency. And that gap is what today's session is all about. We get questions from brands all the time where you're looking to understand, hey, what's possible with AMC and what does advanced really look like? What should I be doing? So Bob and Jordan, you're going to take it from here and show us some of the opportunities that AMC affords and how Tinuiti is putting it to work.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Russ. First of all, as we're getting into Amazon Marketing Cloud, I think that it's important to define sort of like what a data clean room is and what is inside of Amazon Marketing Cloud, right? So Amazon did a really good job of developing sponsored ads and developing a DSP, but lacked the competitive oversight to really put these two POVs together and understand how one is working with another. So if you're over investing in one, how does the investment work in the other one? what they did was they created this data clean room that allowed all of this data to get put into it. And we're not allowed to like see what it is, right? We can't see every individual transaction. We can see table headers and definitions of what each one of these metrics are. In return, you can put all of your 1P data. So if you have a custom like hashed emails or a customer list that you want to put in there and you want to add that into your instance, we can bring all this data together, ask the clean room a bunch of questions, and there's two main outputs. One is measurement and reporting, and then the other one is custom audiences. So as we start asking all these questions, it is set up in a way that there's a couple of different options within the clean room to ask it questions. Amazon already has pre-canned questions that you can ask it, and all of this is an SQL generated query that comes from Amazon. You put it into the Amazon clean room, it spits back a report or an audience. How we work with it at Tinuiti is we have a very cross-functional team at Tinuiti of innovation and growth, myself and a counterpart of mine, Joe Connor, from like sort of like a tip of the spear Amazon partnership perspective. We have really great account managers like Jordan, who manage very forward-looking advertisers who have these complex questions that they want to run and get answers to. And then also we have a business intelligence team that is proficient in SQL. We have product managers who are proficient in creating like Tableau and data visualization dashboards. And we know that AMC is this virtual unknown of opportunity that if we're going to be creating an audience and if we're going to be creating a report, we take the outputs very, very seriously because we know that these brands are investing a lot of money based on both these results and these audiences. So we don't want to create an audience wrong and incorrectly, spend $50,000 on it, and then all of a sudden realize it's not like the audience that we said it was. So there's a lot of troubleshooting. There's a lot of backlog. There's a lot of innovation going on from the Tinuiti team on how we set up our team cross-functionally in order to get a lot of this stuff done. As we're looking at add-ons to Amazon Marketing Cloud, the majority of the backfilled instance on your AMC 101, once you start it today, it has 13 months of data, and every single conversion is going to be ad attributed, meaning it was either exposed to a sponsored ad or a DSP ad, right? There's two other opportunities to increase like the scope of what this is, like what is in your AMC instance from Amazon. One, you can opt into a 5-year look back. So instead of 13 months of data, you can actually get 5 years of data. So if you're thinking of you're a soap brand, you have a consumable that you want somebody to order every month, 13 months of data is probably a really good indicator of purchase frequency, right? But if you manufacture TVs or power drills, you might buy one of these every 5 years. And we definitely want to give these other verticals the chance to really understand their customer base, how their buying patterns are, and expand their margins and growth as well. Another one is flexible shopping insights. So flexible shopping insights actually gives you access to this table called Conversions All. Conversions All is everything that's ad attributed as well as non-ad attributed. So there's a common question that says like, how do I know these people already weren't going to purchase anyway? Are we just hitting a bunch of like lower funnel traffic with ads, calling it return on ad spend, but like at the end of the year, we're not actively growing? This is the sort of data set that we can use in order to really understand like your organic growth versus your ad attributed growth. And then within both of these data sets, we can start creating custom audiences and reports to really help isolate these traffic and win in the margins. So as we're getting into audience creation, I've talked a lot, but I'm going to turn it over to Jordan to talk about some of her favorite audiences that we've created within AMC.
Awesome. Yeah. So I think the way that we like to look at AMC specifically as an agency is we first like to look at it as what is the business question, and what are we trying to answer? And then we use AMC to back into that and to find audiences to target off of. So here's an example of more so of a foundational approach to AMC. We like to think of this as like the entry point into leveraging AMC audiences. I won't go through each and every one of them, but I did want to call out a few of them. I think the first one, add to cart remarketing, it is pretty basic and I'd say foundational, but we do like to call it as a plumber fixing a leak. So we're targeting users who have showed strong purchase intent by adding to cart, and you can leverage any type of look back. And then they just haven't reached that point of conversion. So it's us retargeting. We like to leverage this actually a lot during promotional events. Specifically, I know T12 is 12 days. Normally add to cart, we like to leverage 30 days. However, with T12 being a pretty extended period of time, we do like to leverage AMC in the end of it in order to kind of add to cart or retarget users that have added to cart throughout the promo period, but have not purchased. Another example would be tentpole purchasers. So if you're looking at audiences that have converted at Prime Day or Prime Big Deal days, and they might have even converted on other products, so a specific product line of yours, but haven't converted within another one, this is a great opportunity to cross-sell. As you know, this person is already in the brand and kind of build more of that basket building and a loyal consumer. It does depend, obviously, on the life cycle of your product. If you are selling a suitcase, I don't think someone's going to purchase a suitcase every couple of months, but they could want to carry on instead of just a checked luggage. So it is something that you would more customize based off of your target audience and your brand. Another tactic and audience I like to leverage is the keyword searchers. That's a great example of a use case that we actually saw CPCs really rose for non-branded terms in a previous tentpole event for a specific client. And they were just becoming really high, and it was not really feasible to bid at that level. So we decided to group that non-branded term and a majority of them and put them in an audience and target them on the DSP, because we knew that was going to be a little bit lower cost and it's on a CPM model. So that was more so how we utilized keyword searchers and AMC in order to combat some like high price points that we see through any type of promotional event or holiday period, and how we leverage AMC to kind of think out of the box in order to alleviate some of those issues that we were seeing. And then I'll take it a step further and I'll go into our next level targeting. So this is more so what we call like a layer deeper approach to AMC. And I think one of the good examples here is like lapsed purchasers. So that's targeting users who have not purchased in the last like maybe 6 months to a year ago, or they did purchase 6 months to a year ago and have not purchased since. And then a way to kind of take that another level is what Bob was just talking about with the 5-year look back, the extended lapse audience. So that's looking at users who may have purchased over a year ago up to 5 years, but have not purchased again. I think perfect example would be luggage. Somebody might have purchased 3 years ago and doesn't know that there's a new model out or a new type of product line, etc. Let's target those users that are technically not new to brand, but have purchased in the past. So I think that's a really great example of how to kind of take it a layer deeper. And then my last example would be more so lookalike audiences. So within AMC, we love to look at what audiences are performing and what is kind of that niche audience that we know is a high converter, a strong purchase rate, has a strong new to brand. How do we model that? So we build lookalikes, and a lot of lookalikes, I would say. So top purchasers is a great example of users. It kind of depends, obviously, on your product line. But for example, if you have the normal buying period is 3 months and someone's purchased once or twice in the last 3 months, I would say anything above that. So if somebody has purchased more than 2 times in the last 3 months, let's build a lookalike, and that will also help scale. So especially during these events, I think one thing is just being able to reach users in a high competition environment. And you're really trying to cast that net, but you want to do it in a more sophisticated way. This is a great example. And we leverage lookalikes. I know there's another example of email subscribers. So people who are subscribing, if it's a huge aspect of your D2C, you can look at those email subscriber audiences. We can adjust that data within our AMC, and then we can build a lookalike. So we're looking at users who exhibit similar behavior and show like they are a loyal brand. audience, and then we can target those throughout the event. So these are just some examples. I think foundation is where we would recommend starting and kind of get your feet wet and then see what performs. Add that to your evergreen strategy, always on. Leverage specific audiences. I know I leverage these audiences on a continuous basis, and then go a layer deeper and see what's the audience or that you'd like to leverage, what's the business question, and how do we access that audience.
I think another important call out to Jordan's point is these audiences are backwards compatible, right? So just because we make an audience doesn't mean we have to put it in the DSP. If we can see a user behavior that we definitely want to target, we can also put that into our sponsored ads for bid boosting as well. So we've been seeing a lot of really interesting cases where there's this keyword that's super expensive, but they're buying other things in the category that might not be as expensive. So if we can isolate people who are searching for those terms and boost it somewhere else where we can be more efficient in sponsored ads, we've been seeing a lot of increased share of voice there as well. So a lot of things to look out for. It's not just for DSP, but it's for DSP and sponsored ads as of Unboxed last year. So seeing a lot of good luck with both of those functions. As we get into reporting, there's a report in the independent query library called Path to Purchase, right? So the output of Path to Purchase will basically tell you how much, like what ad products and media types that the shopper is interacting with before they make a purchase. So it's going to have a path of like sponsored brands to sponsor products. This is your new to brand percentage and your conversion percentage. It's going to say streaming TV, OLV, and then converting on display. So it'll have very similar paths to that. My challenge to that is it's not super actionable. So how we sort of went above and beyond this query, we went to actually 4 different kinds of ROAS, one being first touch ROAS. So how people initially got into your brand and to this funnel strategy. Last touch ROAS, where they ended up converting. Linear ROAS, which gives adequate credit to every single touch point within that campaign. And then positional. So we'll weight first and last touch a little bit more so than everything in the middle, understanding that everything in the middle kind of helped everything move full funnel. But within our pathing analysis, we actually run everything on the campaign level as well. So based on Amazon having last touch attribution with everything, a lot of times what we're finding is the new campaigns or the campaigns that are bringing in the most new customers, those metrics end up getting cannibalized throughout the rest of the course of that full funnel strategy. And it ends up like not looking as good in the ad console as it's actually working to drive those net new customers. So we're trying to answer the question of if you have like an extra $50,000, $100,000 and you want to drive net new customers, what campaigns you're actually going to put it into. And we have AMC reports that allow us to do that. I guess, Jordan, is that a common challenge that you're finding in front of your clients today? Or are they wondering like how to drive net new customers?
Yes, definitely. I think this is a very common issue we see, is also proving out the efficacy of upper funnel investment in streaming TV. I think leadership loves the word ROAS. And so I think this was a great opportunity to say, hey, we actually are really seeing a return from this and being able to prove out, because as you mentioned earlier, like a pathing analysis by itself doesn't necessarily tell the full picture and is kind of hard to still prove out, because we do see a lot of sponsored products within that. And that is obviously the last touch conversion. So this, I love to leverage this report for a lot of clients when I'm looking at incremental or streaming, or we're saying, hey, we really need to push new to brand and grow market share, et cetera, is where are we seeing the new to brand first touch ROAS, and let's lean in there. So if we do get some of that incremental, this is kind of where we look at first in order to see where to invest that dollars and where does it make the most sense. So I agree. I think this one is really great, and we leverage it a lot alongside some of those pathing analysis, but the pathing analysis alone doesn't tell the whole story.
Yeah, and I think also I've seen it leveraged with like a lot of these main holdout group audiences that you were referring to previously with like the 5-year look back. Okay, if we can target people who have never seen one of our ads with streaming TV and they haven't really checked out any of our products in the past 2 years, like, but they're still in market for this certain category, that's a major opportunity for us to really get our brand in front of somebody who hasn't really considered anything over any considerable amount of time, and get our brand in front of them. As we're moving forward, now we're moving, like, we moved up funnel, but down funnel, this is also an opportunity of how we're using Amazon Marketing Cloud to understand long-term value. ROAS in Ad Console as it stands today really only will give you a perspective into the very first purchase, right? How many subscribers, but it won't really give you any POV into like long-term value of, all right, we got somebody in the brand, what happens after they got in the brand? And what we went to go solve here is like really understanding the amount of new customers that a brand's driving every month, right? How many subscribers, how many net new customers, and then really understanding, like, over the course of the next 12 months, 14 months, 18 months, how much are those new customers actually purchasing, to really give you an understanding of holistic, like, customer return. And then also what we're seeing is like understanding the decay curve of your brand as we sort of like stop advertising them or stop trying to get them into the funnel. A lot of brands probably just assume that they just keep buying. But there's other engagement points that we can have over the course of like the year to make sure that we can flatten that curve, I think, a little bit more. So I guess, Jordan, like, what are your brands thinking about, like, long-term value of their customers, and how do they view, initial ROAS versus, like, the year-long customer conversion journey?
Yeah, definitely. I think this, we actually have been leveraging quite a bit in terms of like KPIs and North Stars within our campaigns, because when we're looking at a long-term value, and if our new to brand cost per acquisition is higher than the long-term value, then that means that we're not either reaching the right audience, we're paying too much, or we're not retaining that client. And so we like to look at this alongside our campaigns to understand, okay, so are we bringing someone in at an efficient rate? And then are we continuing them to continue purchasing past just that year? So then what we do is we look at our campaigns and see, how do we bring down that new to brand cost per acquisition and make sure that's at an efficient level to really increase more so that long-term value. Then we also look at more of our loyalty aspects. So if you are within a CPG brand, loyalty is a really big part of it. And so making sure that we're continuing to foster that like brand loyalty, not just within the year, but past that. And then are we measuring it? So like making sure we're just tracking this as more so our KPI. So this report is really helpful to look at more so not just the immediate impact, but more so down the year within a couple of years, and understand also if there's an issue with retaining consumers or loyal consumers past a year. Because as you kind of mentioned, we normally look at just that year, but we need to understand if someone bought a suitcase 4 years ago and they're in the market for a suitcase, and like the next year, we want to make sure that they're buying from us again. It may not be within that year, but we want to make sure that they're buying from us repeatedly. So
yeah, for sure. And another thing that I like about this report is that it's actionable. So if we find that a certain cohort is, trending off after month 5, we can create an audience of people who have just purchased, 5 months or greater within between 5 and 12 months, create a campaign around just getting them and retaining them. And there's always an opportunity, I feel like, within the audience creation to really help drive that brand to more customer loyalty by either extending additional offers, we're seeing it with like category exclusivity versus cross-category buyers. So maybe there's an opportunity to like show them a different assortment within the category. If you're buying hand soap but not hair care, maybe there's an opportunity to showcase another product in the assortment to really help get more loyalty and brand building there.
Bob and Jordan, I have a question if I could interrupt.
Yeah, sure, man. Let's do it.
I'm just curious, for brands that aren't using this report and then you start showing them this, is this like an eye-opening sort of insight for them? Do they usually have data or information outside of Amazon that gives them a sense of what the lifetime value is of acquiring a customer?
Yeah, I can give an
Let
example.
Jordan go with that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I can give an example. Recently, we noticed within one of my brands, it was a CPG brand, we were seeing a softening in loyalty. And we kind of saw within that last year, we kind of started to feel there was a softening in loyalty, very big subscribe and save business. But we were we were always just bringing in new people, but we could feel like it was just year over year. There's a Amazon report too that kind of looks at like the new shoppers you need to acquire each year in order to hit certain revenue goals. And we felt like it just kept getting larger. So we actually pulled this report and it did align with like total business. It was interesting. Their D2C was still seeing like flat, I would say, more so long-term value, subscribe and save. But within Amazon, we noticed that we were seeing it a little bit, but then this really opened us up to understand like there was a drop off at more so 18, 19 months where they were brand loyal. And then around like 18, 19 months, right at that 2-year mark, they were dropping off. And so that was what we looked at to say, okay, how do we continue that past it? Because we saw that we were just continuing to refill with new to brand. So I think it's a definite like use case scenario. I do think that this is eye-opening to understand, especially if it's past like a 2-year mark, to know that like there is that drop off.
Is there a general finding of once you start looking at this information, clients, brand advertisers are saying, oh, okay, we can can afford to pay more to acquire this customer? Or is it I'm curious if it's the reverse, like, oh, we're overpaying to acquire these customers. How would you characterize that? That's my final question on this slide. Sorry.
No, that's a great question. And I definitely think it depends on the use case because I've actually seen both scenarios. And I think the most common scenario is we are overpaying because we're just not seeing that longevity growth. And so a lot of the times it's like, how do we bring down that new to brand cost per purchase and target more qualified audiences? So that's when we start brainstorming. It's a perfect, like from this report, we had the business question that was answered, like, how do we bring down that new to brand? And then we leveraged a lot of AMC audiences. And that was how we started leveraging lookalike audiences, specifically off of their D2C, because we knew that their D2C had strong subscribers, strong like brand loyalty. So we leveraged more lookalike and then started putting that within our campaigns to bring down that new to brand cost. I have seen on the other side though, of when we are seeing a drop off right past the year. So maybe like 13 or 14 months. And that long-term value is still like high. If it's a high price product, we recognize that we do need to actually invest more in acquiring that customer and keeping it. I think the biggest part from here too is like, how do we keep that customer? And so I think it depends. We've seen both sides a lot, I would say frequently, but more so I would say this is a really strong report to show that we need to be more efficient with the acquisition side. So I would say more so bringing down that cost.
Thank you.
And to Wyatt's point in the chat, does LTV report require FSI data to get that complete SNS picture? The answer is yes, it does require FSI data to get the complete picture. If you run the report without FSI data enabled, it will show you the LTV for only the ad attributed conversions within Amazon Marketing Cloud. So like I said before, FSI will have those non-ad attributed conversions in it. And what we want to do is understand like, all right, if we hit them with an ad, they were a new customer in that given month, and we, maybe we hit them with more ads over subsequent months. Maybe we never hit them with an ad ever again, and they just ended up like subscribing and just never really visiting the category again. FSI would give us the holistic picture of what that, I would say, new customer cohort would be buying over the course of the long haul. All right. So now, as we're looking at AMC, I think another valuable opportunity for us is Amazon has a lot of different tables, a lot of different systems. You're either in Seller Central or Vendor Central for your retail data. You're in Ad Console for your sponsored ads. There's an opportunity to bring correlation into causation within AMC. And what I mean by that is there are certain hypotheses that can be brought about like, all right, I had a spike in sales. My ROAS went up, so therefore, like, I have to invest more, right? But like, do I really know? AMC is the place where all of these things live, so you can truly get an understanding of how ads drive your business in a fully attributed way. So you can really understand like what's helping you grow versus what you might think is helping you grow. And that's what we try to prove within our Marketing Cloud reports to really understand true business growth.
I just want to add on this. I think this is something that you need to be looking at all of the time. This is like kind of the core foundation. I think how we approach our brands is ads do impact obviously total growth, and understanding how search and DSP work together within each and measuring that on a consistent basis, because then you can look at how organic sales are growing versus ad sales, and AMC ties all of that together. Because if you're not looking at a holistic, if you're not leveraging AMC, you're not able to pull new to brand within certain search products. And so want to make sure that you're doing a holistic picture on a consistent basis.
And we have an awesome case study from our partner award nominee, Illy. Jordan crushed this account. So why don't you take us through this?
Yeah, so I think this is actually a really great real life example of how we leveraged AMC in multiple ways in order to drive success for Illy. So a little over a year ago, they came to us and let us know, like, we're really not seeing new to brand growth. And obviously within the coffee category, about 2 brands take up 50% of the total market share. And so it's very competitive and it's really hard to really break through. And so how we approach this is we looked at AMC, we pulled a lot of reports. So we pulled, for example, a gateway ASIN analysis that shows us the new to brand ASIN, the highest new to brand ASIN that we've seen in the last year. So what is the highest performer? What's that entry point that people are coming to the brand? We leverage those path to purchase analysis in a new to brand first touch as well. And we leverage a lot of AMC reports also to prove out STV performance, because we had been leveraging a little bit of streaming, upper funnel, Prime Video, but not enough to really make an impact. And so through AMC, we were able to really understand the state of the business at a more granular level. Kind of the report that we just talked through of looking at total business with ads, and then the audiences that we needed to reach. So for example, within loyalty, we wanted to make sure we're fostering that brand loyalty environment. So we were pulling multiple reports to understand if there was a drop off and what that long-term value was and how to increase it, and also how to lower our new to brand cost per acquisition. And then from there, it actually resulted. So we built out a strategy with the team, and we leveraged that new to brand first touch ROAS to get buy-in from their leadership to expand and really push a majority of our budget into upper funnel and make sure we were pushing that on a monthly basis, which resulted in about a 99% lift in new to brand sales year over year. And then we also exceeded our sales goal. We gained 25% of market share, and we held the #1 bestseller badge in the ground coffee category. For most of the quarter, we've been consistently holding that. And so I think this is a great example of, we were seeing this issue and seeing us not really to break into market share. And so we did more so a backwards analysis and looked at the business question, how can we leverage AMC reporting audiences and then combine it and look at it total business impacts? And it really resulted in strong performance. So
a highly competitive category. So that's awesome.
Exactly.
So our key takeaways, one, I think path to purchase is more than knowing media type. You want to analyze ROAS numbers in a different way, know what campaigns are driving incremental sales. 5-year look back is super compelling, especially when you're looking at hard lines. Flexible shopping insights can unlock nuanced wins. It's important to understand like who your advertisers or who's buying your brand that you might not be advertising to. And then correlation doesn't equal causation. So we definitely want to use the clean room in order to really affirm the hypotheses around our marketing budget and help us really understand where the next best dollar should be spent.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bob and Jordan and Russ. A ton of great insights to showcase what's possible when you do move beyond those basic reports. I'm just looking at the chat. I don't see any questions. So I will keep us moving. I know we answered Wyatt's question when we were on that. Bob, where are you going to be next week?
I'm going to be at Unboxed with Jordan, actually. We're both going to be at Unboxed. We're going to have a booth there. We have a great AMC panel with Jonathan Cole, who's going to be speaking on stage, and then a great lightning talk actually on flexible shopping insights. My counterpart, Joe O'Connor, and our VP of Commerce Media, Nancy McLaughlin, are going to be speaking. So definitely try to check out those sessions if you're going to be at the conference. But if you are going to be at the conference, feel free to stop by our booth, say hi, or ask any questions about Marketing Cloud or your Amazon ad spend.
Right on. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. And I sort of went rapid fire through a lot of data and charts. All of that insight comes from our ongoing research into how consumer brands are navigating Amazon and the broader omni-channel market. I showed just a variety of links there to different reports that we've published. So if you'd like to explore our work further, you can breeze through our library at stratably.com research. We have both a free and a paid membership offering, and we also do custom strategy assessments for brands looking to understand what gaps they have in their Amazon business. So if you're interested, please reach out to me, Russ at stratably.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. But hopefully you all got a lot out of today's session. Thanks, Bob, Jordan, Catherine, for hosting it.
Yes, thank you so much for doing this with us, Russ. We appreciate you. And I
Thank
hope
you, Russ.
everyone has a great afternoon. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.